Let's talk about the genealogy of Jesus in the Qur'an. Does the Qur'an present the genealogy of Jesus accurately? Well, we're going to find out today and compare it to that in the Bible. So the first thing we're going to do is actually go through some various verses in the Qur'an so that we can draw out the family tree of Jesus. And then we're going to compare it to the Bible. And then we're going to address some of the questions that Muslims typically ask or try to refute in regarding this particular topic. So I'll take you to Surah 3, verse 33. It says, Allah chose Adam and Noah and the family of Abraham and the family of Imran over all humankind. Imran in Arabic is Amram in English. Then it says they are offspring one of the other. So the family of Abraham and the family of Imran are sharing the same lineage. Then it talks about the wife of Imran. In verse 35, it says, My Lord, I have vowed what is in my womb to you. So she's pregnant, dedicated. So accept it from me. You are the hearer, knower. And when she delivered her, she said, My Lord, I have delivered a female. And Allah knew what she delivered. And the male is not like the female. And I have named her Mary or Maryam in Arabic. So here we see a man named Imran or Amram, and he has a daughter named Maryam. Now in the next several verses, it talks about Zechariah, which we will not get into here. But then in verse 45, it talks about Maryam, assumingly she grew up, and the angels visited her. They said, O Mary, Allah gives you good news of a word from Him. His name is the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary. So here we see a man named Imran. He has a daughter named Maryam. And this Maryam gives birth to a man named Jesus or Isa in Arabic. So now I'll take you to Surah 19, which is titled Maryam. It's the story about Maryam giving birth to Jesus. But what's interesting here is verse 28 of the surah. It says that the people at that time called her sister of Aaron, Ya Ukhta Harun. So here we see that there is a man named Imran, and he has a daughter named Maryam who gave birth to Jesus, and this Maryam has a brother named Aaron. And interestingly, in the same surah, just as we scroll to verse 51, it talks about Musa or Moses and how his brother, his name is Aaron. So this completes a picture for us for the family tree of Jesus. It's going to look like this, according to the Qur'an, that is. So we have Imran and his wife. They have 3 children, Maryam, Harun, and Musa, and this Maryam gave birth to Jesus. So this is quite interesting, isn't it? The impression that we get is that Jesus is the nephew of Aaron and Moses if we are simply looking at the Qur'an at its face value. So what's interesting here is that any person who has read the Bible will see that there is a glaring error in the Qur'an when it comes to the family tree of Jesus, according to the Qur'an. The Qur'an seems to have confused Maryam of the Old Testament to Maryam of the New Testament. Maryam of the Old Testament, indeed, she did have a father named Imran, and 2 brothers, Aaron and Moses, but she had nothing to do with Jesus. Rather, it wasn't until 1,000+ years that another Maryam appeared who has nothing to do with Imran or Moses or Aaron, and she is the one who gave birth to Jesus. Let's take a look at some passages in the Old Testament just to verify. I'll take you to Numbers 26:59. It says, the name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. And she bore to Imran, Aaron, Moses, and Maryam, their sister. So, and again, this Maryam has nothing to do with Jesus. This is a very similar, or not similar, but it's actually exactly the same family tree found in the Qur'an. with the exception, of course, to Maryam giving birth to Jesus. I'll take you to another interesting passage here. Exodus 15:20. Then Maryam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, Ukhta Harun. The same phraseology is found in Surah 19. So it's as if the Qur'an is confirming for us that no, we're talking about Maryam of the Old Testament. So this is the problem, folks. The Qur'an has conflated Maryam of the Old Testament with Maryam of the New Testament. Of course, the most common response we receive from Muslims when we point out for them the genealogical error is that they'll tell you, hold on a second, in Surah 19, Maryam is not literally the sister of Aaron, but rather she is the descendant of Aaron. And this is because in the Arabic language, ukht and akh can refer to, sister and brother can refer to a descendant rather than a sibling. And then they'll quote this hadith also. They'll say, oh, this hadith is reported by Shu'bah, where he went to Najran and was approached by some Christian monks. And these Christian monks told him, you recite the verse of, O sister of Aaron, but Moses was born long before Jesus by many years. You know, what's interesting is that even back then, the Christians knew that there was a problem with the genealogical assertions in the about Jesus in the Qur'an. So what did Shu'bah do? He went to the Prophet Muhammad, and what did Muhammad say? Well, he said they used to name people with the names of prophets and righteous people who had passed before them. But that doesn't resolve the problem. You see, because context is king. How do we know that the brother and sister in the Qur'an is literally the sibling, or is it referring to a descendant? It's the context. So let me give you some examples. We'll go in the same surah. We already talked about this particular verse 51, right? It says, mention in the book Moses. And in 53, it says, his brother Aaron, Akhahu Harun. So this is literally his brother, right? And it's using that Arabic term, akh. But if we go to like Surah 11, verse 50, وَإِلَى عَادٍ أَخَاهُمْ هُودًا, and to Ad, their brother Hud. So here it's a descendant or someone that's associated with a community. Ad is a community and Hud is their brother. So we can see, yes, in the Arabic language, this is true based on context. So what is the context with Maryam? Well, we know because the Qur'an actually gives us what I would call a double whammy. The Qur'an not only does it say that she is the sister of Aaron, but she is also the daughter of Imran. These two cannot just be expressions. This is absolutely true. So the Qur'an confirms for us the fact that the Qur'an is pointing out that she is the daughter of Imran and the sister of Aaron, confirms for us that this is literal. But let me reinforce this for you. We'll go back to Surah 3. Keep in mind, Surah 3 is titled Al-Imran, the family of Imran. And we're going back to the beginning of this surah. It's important here to point something out. Verse 3, what does it say? It says, نزل عليك الكتاب بالحق مصدقا لما بين يديه وأنزل التوراة والإنجيل. He sent down to you the book with truth, confirming what came before it, and he sent down the Torah and the gospel as guidance for humanity. Wow, look at that. So not only does the Qur'an in Surah 3, which is titled Family of Imran, telling us that the Torah and the gospel are from Allah, they are revelations from Allah, they contain the truth as a guidance for humanity, and it's telling us in this same surah about a guy named Imran who had a daughter named Maryam. Isn't that interesting? But let me also add something here. We'll go back to verse 33. So here it says, Allah chose Adam, Noah, and the family of Abraham, and the family of Imran. So we know that the audience of the Qur'an at that time were the Jews and Christians. And the fact that in the beginning of this surah, it talks about the Torah and the Gospel. So the Jews and the Christians at that time holding their Bible, they felt or they knew that, yes, what I have is the truth. And so the Qur'an is addressing their truth. And the Jews and the Christians only know one Abraham. And they only know one Imran. They don't know any other Imran. So how is it that somehow this is some other magical Imran? Because some hadiths actually, or some scholars I should say, are saying that, this is a different Imran. No, there's only one Imran that's known in the Gospels. In the Torah. You see? But let me also add something else here. Let's look at the next verse. So Allah chose the family of Ibrahim and the family of Imran, ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْضُهَا مِنْ بَعْضٍ, offspring one of the other. This means that the family of Abraham and the family of Imran are offspring one of the other, meaning the Jews only know that the Imran is coming from the Levite family, from the Levi family line. So there is no other Imran, folks. The Qur'an is confirming for us the Old Testament Maryam gave birth to Jesus. No other Imran is available. So this is the problem. So the last thing I would like to do now is to just share with you a few of the tafsirs regarding Surah 3 verse 33, which mentions the family of Imran. And to demonstrate for you that even in the tafsirs, the exegesis, the commentaries, they do not know who Imran is. Why? Because they want to rescue the Qur'an from this problem, from this conundrum. Whereas from a biblical standpoint, it's very clear. We'll take a look at Ibn Abbas, right? And here he says, the family of Imran, he's making a commentary. That phrase is referring to Moses and Aaron. Look at that. But in the same sentence, he says, it is also said that Imran is not the father of Moses and Aaron. It is also said. So he's taking someone else's opinion as well. This again demonstrates for you that even during that time when they were writing these exegesis, these commentaries, they had problems with this. Let me take you to Al-Mawdudi. Here he says Imran was the name of the father of Moses and Aaron, has been mentioned as Amram in the Bible. Cool. But then he goes to verse 35, where it talks about the woman of Imran. So it's this verse. Verse 35. The wife of Imran said, my Lord, I have vowed what is inside my womb. إِذْ قَالَتِ امْرَأَةُ عِمْرَانَ. So he's making a comment about this. He says, if by the woman of Imran is meant as the wife of Imran, then this must be a different Imran from the one mentioned in the verse above, in verse 33. So he's basically saying that even though it says the family of Imran here, and then it starts talking about the wife of Imran, it's not his wife. It's a woman down the line somewhere. This, of course, doesn't make sense, especially that we see this Arabic word idh. Idh in Arabic means when. Basically when, and it's always in reference to something that happened previously or something that's mentioned previously. So the fact that it says idh, it's connecting to what is mentioned about the family of Imran. إِذْ قَالَتِ امْرَأَةُ عِمْرَانَ. It's the context is king, folks. So this is no doubt, it is referring to literally the wife of Imran. He says, in that case, one comes to the conclusion that the father of Mary was named Imran after that ancestor. Wrong. But if by woman of Imran is meant as a woman from the family of Imran, then it merely shows that Mary's mother was a descendant of Imran. Again, these do not make any sense whatsoever. So as we can see, there are problems here with the exegesis. Let me take you to one over here. This one's in Arabic, so I'll just kind of give you a rough, quick, summarized translation. This is by Ar-Razi, and it says, وَأَمَّا آلَ عِمْرَانَ فَقَدْ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ. So he says, as for the phrase family of Imran, they have disagreements. اختلفوا فيه, by the way, this is a very common phrase that you're going to see throughout a lot of tafsirs. So here they don't know. There's disagreements about who this family of Imran is. They don't know. Okay? And then down here, they start speculating about whether it is Imran, the grandfather of Jesus, or Imran, the father of Moses and Aaron, and so forth. And then down here, it says that this is all speculative, and other opinions are also valid. I'm, of course, summarizing for you what is being mentioned here in the Arabic language. So there's a lot of problems, folks. But this is only to rescue the Qur'an. That's why there's a lot of problems with this particular genealogical error. The fact is, the Qur'an made a mistake here and basically mishmashed the Maryam of the Old Testament and Maryam of the New Testament. Okay? And that's the problem. So ultimately, I do invite my brother and sister Muslims to start questioning the Qur'an, everything that you're reading about the Qur'an. If you really investigate a lot of the things that are mentioned in the Qur'an, it is ultimately a mishmash of different historical documents mixed in together, as we have seen here in the case of Jesus' genealogy. And I invite my brother and sister Muslims, once you start putting question marks on the Qur'an, start opening the Bible, specifically the New Testament. Open Matthew, open Luke. I really encourage you. There's absolute truth in Jesus Christ. And once you understand and see what Jesus is all about, He will bless you. And I ask you to open your heart for that. I pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.